Welcome, my colleagues here in this session. Welcome to the audience. This session, join us to the road to Dakar 2021. We are talking here about the 9th World Water Forum. The World Water Forum is co-organized by the World Water Council and the government of Senegal. And the theme for this forum is Water Security for Peace and Development. A very inspiring title, as you can see. The 9th Forum adopted an innovative structure compared to the previous fora to meet the African needs, as you will see in this session. The vocabulary we are using now for this forum shows the intentions of the organizers. Firstly, the most important word is urgency. Urgency for Africa, urgency for the whole world that is facing big changes, climate changes, and now this pandemic. Africa and many other parts of the world need solution for a number of challenges. Instead of the classic approach from previous fora, processes are now called priorities. And there are 4 priorities: water security and sanitation, rural development, cooperation, and means and tools to put all the needs on place. Means and tools like finance, governance, and knowledge. Instead of committees, commissions, or groups like that, now we have working groups, pilot groups, 1 per priority, action groups, 23 in total, and consultative groups. The pilot groups are the responsible for a set of action groups. In water priority, 6 action groups, rural development also 6 action groups, and cooperation as well, and means and tools 5 action groups. And each of these action groups are in charge of discuss the most important the contents for the sessions that will be held in Dakar during the forum. Instead of products like reports, books, or more words, we have actions. Each action group is preparing 3 actions that should be ongoing initiatives that can be pushed forward, or ideas that can be really actually implemented. Altogether, our expectation is to have 70 actions as a general product for this forum. But we have a global forum. It's a World Water Forum. So all the important themes for the other continents, for the other countries, are also included in our discussions. Themes like cities, science and technology, and many other of them will be addressed. There is a room for political actions, because this is part of the World Water Council's mission. So we expect to have heads of states, ministers, parliamentarians, local governors and mayors. So every representative from political world, including the judges, they will be present and they will be discussing things related to water. We have now around 500 organizations working around the world for this forum to happen. So here we are to invite you. Join us on the road to Dakar. It will be a very nice and very important forum. So welcome to the session. And Terry, I give the word to you again. Or to Thomas, sorry. Thomas.
To me, yes. Thank you, Paulo.
Thank you. Sorry for that.
No problem. Thank you, Paulo, and thank you for sticking to the time. This is the first time that we moderate this in a virtual way, but we're getting used to it. My name is Thomas van Wijnberg from Aquafed, the International Federation of Private Water Operators, but I'm also a member of the pilot group and it's my privilege to help you through this session today. Thank you, Chair, for setting the stage. And we're now going to go into a 60-minute discussion. Every one of the, let's say, the priorities will have 10 to 15 minutes. Please keep it short, and if I cut you short, do not hold it against me. It is the organizers that asked me to do this. Also, for everybody who has questions, there is question and answer that can be submitted in writing, and we'll have a Q&A at the end of this session. So please mute your microphones, and those who can have a video link, please put it up. It's always nicer to speak to somebody than against an empty screen. So without further ado, I'm happy to introduce our first speaker, Mr. Abdoulaye Sen from the Forum's International Steering Committee, who is the co-chair. Abdoulaye, je te donne la parole. Tu as 9 minutes, mais peut-être que je vais t'interrompre un peu plus tôt. Thank you. Abdoulaye, you have the floor.
Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to extend my warm greetings to all participants to this session of Cairo Water Week on the 9th World Water Forum. I'm speaking from Dakar, Senegal, the host city of the 9th World Water Forum, where I hope to welcome you during the forum. I would like to congratulate and thank the organizers of this important session for giving me the opportunity to share information on the 9th World Water Forum. Allow me to thank also in particular our Egyptian partners who are fully engaged in the preparatory process for the success of the forum. Senegal and the World Water Forum, World Water Council, will organize the 9th World Water Forum in Dakar under the theme of water security for peace and development. The preparatory process of the forum is ongoing despite the constraints related to the pandemic for face-to-face meetings. Virtual meetings make it possible to engage with stakeholders in the collaborative platform. The current pandemic outbreak moves from being a health crisis to becoming the worst social and economic crisis of our lifetime. Without water available in sufficient quantity and quality, it will be impossible to face this great universal threat. Water is vital for health, and water is vital for life. And the COVID pandemic reinforces the urgency to make the water security a core focus for our political leaders and to mobilize the international community in all its diversity at all levels for action. The forum will indeed be an opportunity to contribute in the construction of a post-COVID resilient world. Our ambition, Senegal and World Water Council, is to organize an effective forum from a social, political, and economic point of view. A forum connected to all global agendas and commitments. The forum will address the challenges facing water and sanitation on a global perspective, aiming at catalyzing action on the water agenda in order to achieve the SDGs. In a new vision, the forum will be more focused on 4 priorities: water security and sanitation, cooperation, water for rural development, and tools and means that include the crucial issues of financing, governance, knowledge, and innovation. The forum will be structured around 3 main components. First, we will have the multi-stakeholder platform with all actors, ministers, members of parliament, local authorities, scientists, private sector, civil society, youth, women, etc. And citizens will be at the heart of the forum. Their concern will be addressed to ensure water security and sanitation. The working groups are organized around the 4 priorities in pilot, action, and consultation groups. Following a collaborative and integrated approach. The multi-actor platform includes an innovative structure that promotes greater integration and collaboration of actors on all the selected actions. As part of the elaboration of the thematic content of the forum, the 23 action group set up shared with the pilot group the first proposal for action to be discussed by the global community at the forum. We will proceed in the coming weeks to set up the consultative groups. Those who are not yet involved in the working groups will be able to participate and to contribute. Anyway, anyone wishing to contribute to the process is invited to join the consultative groups of their interest. This is an opportunity for me to thank all the stakeholders already involved in the formulation process of the forum. Some of them will present the first results from the action group. The multi-stakeholder process will also take into account political dimension of water and sanitation issues in the Keystone roundtables with the participation of ministers, local and regional authorities, members of parliament. It is expected that the Keystone roundtables would focus on forward-looking partnership for concrete responses to put into action in the short term and long term, which would then become the main outcomes of the forum. The heads of state summit, in an effort to maintain water at the top of the political agenda, and in order to give weight to the commitment of the Dakar 2021 forum, the President of Senegal, His Excellency Macky Sall, will organize a summit of heads of state and government, including all major international institutions. This will be an occasion to launch a historic political commitment with the aim to catalyzing action, in particular for the achievement of universal access to water and sanitation, and renew commitment to the decade of action for SDG 6. The political outcome of the summit will be presented to the SDG 6 high-level review meeting, and consequently, it will also fit into the 2023 midterm review meeting for the water and sanitation decade. The initiative Dakar 2021 is one of the forum's major innovations, which embodies the slogan from commitment to concrete action on the ground. The aim is to build the forum on a dynamic of commitments through labeled projects, providing responses with strong socio-economic and political impact at the level of different countries. The platform for the submission of application for project labeling is online since January 2020. We invite you to promote the initiative Dakar 2021 to your networks and to submit projects to be labeled. Ladies and gentlemen, Senegal and the World Water Council engage in exchanges with all categories of actors to ensure better communication and involvement, both in the preparatory process and in the conduct of the forum. In terms of international mobilization, more than 12 MOUs were signed with countries and institutions. Others are under discussion. The forum process is well in progress. The success of the forum will be, however, measured by its global reach, the strength of the political engagement emerging from the heads of state summit, the quality of responses, and the level of practices and solutions exchanged by actors, among others. Together, it will be possible to explore new ways for better access to water and sanitation. This is why the conclusion and recommendation of the Cairo Water Week 2020 as well as those of activities labeled on the road to Dakar, will be welcome and will be useful in the elaboration of the content of the forum. We are expecting an active commitment from everyone. Your involvement in the preparatory process of the forum will with no doubt make the ambition of today's workshop a reality. Congratulating once again the Arab Republic of Egypt for having successfully organized this edition of Care Water Week in this particular context of health crisis. I would like to reiterate my invitation for a wide participation of all the stakeholders in the working groups, in the state session, and in the exhibition of the forum, in order to achieve a historic World Water Forum, a forum of tangible responses for the population of the world, so that water security for peace and development is ensured everywhere for all without leaving no one behind. Thank you for attention.
Merci beaucoup, Monsieur Sene, my dear friend Abdoulaye. Merci beaucoup. Thank you very much for these introductory remarks and for sticking to the timetable, which I will try to keep close to the program. So it's my privilege to invite the two next speakers to get ready, and if they have presentations that they should put them up. We will do them in batches, and so it's my honor to introduce to you Ms. Farah Ndiaye from Action Group 1A, speaking on behalf of the Gates Foundation and presenting water security and the sanitation priority with a particular focus on the human right to water and sanitation in emergency situations. Thank you very much for being with us. And also in this batch, if I can say so, it would be our friend Ms. Alice Conson from IWRA, the International Water Resources Association, who will be talking about the water security and sanitation priority from the perspective of Action Group 1B on water quality and waste management. I will give you 15 minutes on my cell phone, but I will warn you after 12 minutes. So, merci beaucoup. You have the floor. Farah, tu peux y aller. We cannot hear you, Farah.
Sorry, I was talking to myself. Hi.
There we go. Alice and Farah, you have the floor.
Thank you so much. So good morning, good afternoon, everyone, depending on where you are. I'm Farah Ndiaye, as was just mentioned. I will have the honor of presenting on the work of Action Group 1A on behalf of our group coordinator, Eric Moumani from the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, who was not able to attend today. So our group is actually composed of 11 members and experts from ministries, but also from the Gates Foundation as well, but as well universities and AMCAO as well. So and our main focus for the implementation for the Action Group 1A is really the implementation of the right to water and sanitation, and the provision of access to safe water and sanitation in emergency situations. So what we did and how we went about building and designing the work of Action Group 1A is really divided into the three main components to ensure that we capture all existing water and sanitation challenges across the board. So we've kind of divided the work in three main components. So one around implementing the right to water, the other one would be around implementing the right to sanitation, and finally implementing the right to access safe water and sanitation specific to emergency situations. All of our components are really framed under 5 main principles. And the first one being that the idea needed to address a global issue and or a local problem, that the idea calls also for partnership and collective action, then that the idea also takes into account the different specificities of vulnerable groups. Fourth, that the idea had a direct impact on communities and our living conditions as well. Finally, the fifth principle that we frame our ideas around is the need to address solutions with measurable targets and foster accountability. I think this last one really speaks to President Sen's last point around making sure that the forum is a forum that provides tangible solutions to the participants. So we try to very much keep that in mind. Our first action idea is around changing our mindset from emergency to development when it comes to providing access to drinking water and sanitation. So how do we implement the right to safe water and sanitation in emergency situation through an innovative multi-sectoral approach that ensures that national policies are tailored and adapted to respond to emergency situations and conflicts. So within that group, this action idea is actually led by our friends at Solidarité Internationale, and based on their expertise, they were kind enough to help us steer the group and organize our ideas around specific projects or sessions that we would like to see reflected during the forum. So the key messages around this specific action idea, 1A1, I would call it, is really that we include that humanitarian and development approaches are essential for the implementation of concrete solutions to long-term crisis, and it is now more than ever important to prioritize the needs of populations affected by emergency situations through tailored public services. The second key message under this action idea is also that national water and sanitation policies actually govern the system. So therefore, it is important to ensure that they comprehend response strategies and plans to emergency situations and conflict. And only a multi-sectoral approach would really protect water and sanitation and hygiene in emergency situations such as COVID-19, Ebola, or even cholera outbreaks. So with this approach, our expected impact is fourfold. The first one really ensuring that national governments enforce the right to access to safe water and sanitation for all and implement concrete projects. The second one, that humanitarian and development operating methods specific to access to water, hygiene, and sanitation are actually shared as well. And then third, that partnerships and coordinations is fostered among key actors and sectors for effective achievements in access to water and sanitation in emergency situation. Finally, we expect that this action idea will lead to coordinated responses building on innovation. Our second action idea is around building political will for water and sanitation policy change in support of SDG 6, and more specifically that it showcase policy initiatives that contribution really. And this action idea is led by our friends at RECOJAC and as well as the Center for Water Security and Cooperation. So as you'll see, all of our ideas are led by different partners, members of the group, and we really try to leverage the different experience and expertise of each. Our expected impact here as well is also fourfold. The first one is that we want that a main outcome of the forum would be for a state to respect and protect people's right to safe water, that community empowerment and mechanisms are created and implemented. A third, that government favor a holistic approach for the management of the water sector. And finally, that all sectors with links to water are coordinated to boost water management at country level. I'm trying to go as quickly as possible while doing justice to the work of the group. So apologies if I go over time. And then finally, our third and final action idea. This one revolves more around building a sustainable policy environment that maximizes sanitation service delivery using technology innovations. So this action idea is led mainly by our partners at the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, and one of the key messages around this initiative is really how do we underline that inclusive policies, sustained funding, partnerships and technology innovations are the intrinsic components that are required to create that enabling environment for sustainable policy change in favor of providing access to sanitation across the board. And here again, we've tried to come up with a series of projects or sessions that speak specifically to that objectives. And for each of these projects, we've actually identified potential partners and that could work with us, because one of our main objectives today is, now that we have thought a bit more about the outcomes or the different thematics that we would like to focus on in our group. How do we ensure that we bring together other partners from across the board that will help us, ensure that we have productive and comprehensive discussions during the forum. So right now we're really looking to engaging some of the other partners, and that's why I'm very grateful for this opportunity to share our work today and to see also what the other groups have in store, so that we can together think of ways to create interlinkages between the different action groups. We know for a fact that we'll have to coordinate to ensure that together the forum actually addresses all of the different aspects of included in water and sanitation challenges. So again, very much appreciate the opportunity to speak to you guys today, and I hope that we'll be able to discuss about this a bit further.
Thank you very much, Farah. I think what you just said relates to what a number of coordination groups are experiencing. So I'm now going to have to hand over to Alice for the second part. So Alice, you have the floor. I will try to give you 7 minutes, and I will cut off everybody else who's going over time from now on. I need to be severe. Right. I'm very sorry. I have to apologize for this, but you made some general statements. So Alice, the floor is yours. Thank you. 7 minutes.
It's absolutely all right. Thank you, Thomas, and hello, everyone. Okay, I'll try to keep it short in this case. I'm Alice Coulson. I'm a project officer for the International Water Resources Association, and I'm currently responsible for the action group 1B on water quality. So for those who quickly don't know what IWRA is, we are a non-profit multidisciplinary organization aiming at improving the understanding of water issues by sharing knowledge and resources to our members. And IWRA has a long history working on water quality, both for its own projects and for international events like the forum. Indeed, we were the thematic champions for the water quality champion theme for the 7th forum, and we continued as the topic lead for the water quality topic for the Brasilia forum in 2018. Therefore, we are still very honored to be elected as the leader for the action group on water quality for the Dakar forum next year. So for the group, who's on board? So I'm delighted to work with such a diverse group with very diverse profiles from local stakeholders, like we have the mayors of the Gorgol region in Mauritania, the municipality of Barreiro in Portugal. We have public sanitation services like CIAP in France, or ministries like in Turkey. So a variety of stakeholders here. All of them are very motivated to contribute to the forum preparation process. And as you can see on the screen, we can count stakeholders on all continents, which also contributed to the variety of projects proposed in this group. How did we proceed? So, as you know, we had to gather some actions under the theme of water quality, those actions becoming later on the substance of the forum next year. So those actions could be existing projects involving one or several stakeholders in the group, or, and that's another possibility, they could be ideas of future projects. Before doing so, before gathering those actions, the group collectively felt the need to structure the theme into different sub-themes. And I can see that the action group 1A felt the exact same need, so we did. And this exercise, as you can see here, done with the entire group, helped us just not forgetting any component of the theme while trying to avoid, obviously, overlaps with other groups. So as you can see here are 4 pillars, which are in the end are 4 actions, right? So we have action 1, address all kind of water pollution, including industrial pollutants and contaminants, also emerging concerns. We have action 2, implement water quality protection through sound governance, inclusive multi-stakeholder approach, and a knowledge-based policymaking. Action 3, apply nature-based solutions, including green infrastructures, to improve water quality and resources. And finally, action 4, implement sanitation systems adapted to local contexts that meet standards by prioritizing the reuse of byproducts, including the circular economy. So once we had those 4 defined actions, it became much easier for the group to propose their existing or future projects. We received a total of 14 proposals, which I won't exhaustively detail here, but I picked a few examples. Doesn't mean they are the best proposal, but I just tried to show a variety of projects here. So for action 1 here, for instance, we received a very timely proposal from Sudan in Turkey on the use of effective treatment methods for the reuse of used water. This project shows how a good disinfection process is important to kill not only the SARS-CoV-2 virus, the current coronavirus that we can find in wastewater, but also especially to destroy pathogens of waterborne diseases. So that's one of the few proposals we received for action 1 on water pollutions. Then for action 2, we received this proposal from IGES in Japan, on a water environment partnership in Asia, called WEPA, which is an international network including 13 Asian countries. It's already an existing network, with the major aim to improve the water quality in Asia by strengthening water quality governance, sharing data, good practices, develop training. So we are exactly here in this action 2, governance, multi-stakeholder approach, knowledge-based policy making. So that's why I wanted to enlighten this particular action. For action 3 on nature-based solutions and green infra, we have an action proposal from AFD, the French Development Agency, along with the Moroccan local authorities, showing how to implement local nature-based solutions for domestic wastewater treatment. The use of nature-based solutions can indeed be an opportunity to ensure better wastewater treatment at lower costs, but this won't happen without the support of institutions and operators in the sector. So that was for action 3. And finally, for action 4, we finished with a proposal coming from Senegal, from ONAS. It is a program for the construction of public toilets in the city of Dakar, Senegal. It is not an existing project yet. So here you have an example of prospective projects, but it's already an interesting proposal because it describes both the social, economic, and financial impact of having public toilet infrastructures in a big city like Dakar. So it's also a very interesting proposal. And I don't know if we mentioned it in the introductions, but now we are open to contribution. It is the consultation process. So please come to us. We totally welcome contributions. And that's it, Thomas. I hope I give you a comprehensive overview of the work done so far with the action group 1B.
Merci, Alice. Thank you very much, Alice, and right on time. I think you gave us some exciting insights into new projects and new outcomes, and it seems to be very practical. So I think this is inspiring for everybody who is going to be involved in the 4 priorities. So thank you. I see that there's some questions coming in the Q&A. Please put them up there. I will try to prioritize them and try to answer them or get them answered by people who are much more knowledgeable than I am about either the processes, the themes, or the way this should be done. But please put them in writing, because that enables me at the end of the session to give you the floor or to give you some answers. So now it's my privilege to basically introduce the next priority, which is about the rural development priority, and I have the honor to call. Sorry, this is my timekeeping. To call Mr. Rabi Mokhtar and Mrs. Julienne Roux forward to give progress and action examples from Action Group 2F, Rural Development Priority. You have 15 minutes, and Rabi, Julienne, I will cut you off after 6 minutes each, if this is the way forward, to enable everybody to have enough time. Thank you. Rabi, you have the floor.
Thank you, Thomas. We'll try. We'll certainly will try.
Very well. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody who's attending this exciting updates on the forum. It's good to see many familiar faces. I will be very brief. My presentation is 2 parts. The first part, I think it's important that we realize what are we dealing with in terms of Africa water. I'd like to highlight a few things that some of us are familiar, many of us may not be familiar about the water resources challenges in Africa, starting with the inequity in distribution of precipitation. The precipitation in Africa ranges between 51 to 3,200 millimeters per year. This makes some regions in Africa the driest and others the wettest in the world. Africa has 18 water basins, 9 of which are shared international river basins, including Congo, Zaire, Nile, West basins, in addition to others. Climate impact in Africa is severe, with the increase in temperature between 2 to 3 degrees, coastal and river basin flooding, droughts leading to reduction in arable land, and most importantly, leading to insecurity in food. Climate change and human activities are expected to continue to influence the recession in lake and river flow. That also impact a lot of the food security issues. Africa water gap in 2030 is expected to be 17% for South Africa, about 3.8 billion cubic meter, and is projected about 780 million people in sub-Saharan Africa will also be affected by the water gap. Achieving UN SDG 6 requires closing that water gap in terms of the volume as well as the quality. Lessons learned in South of Africa, the challenges is distribution and storage. In the north, it is scarcity. I'll give you an example from Morocco that offers a case study in efficient, sustainable allocation of water availability to competing users through an integrated water management approach. A little bit about our philosophy in approaching this theme is the system-based approaches that looks into a holistic approach to water issues. As we know, water cuts across many economic sectors of the society, including the food sector, including the energy, health, and other sectors. So we had a philosophy that looks into that integration and allows us to look at new business model that integrate value-based policies and natural-based solutions. Another value base we had in the approach is a stakeholder engagement, which is at the core of the upcoming forum in Dakar. I would like to highlight among the many themes that we're approaching this with the foreign investment. Foreign investment is absolutely important for the livelihood of the continent. However, there are overarching elements that needs to be looked at, including the multi-stakeholder involvement early on, foreign investment to improve the agriculture efficiency and irrigation efficiency. Last but not least, there need to be a framework for foreign investment that keeps a balance between the investment between the environmental ecosystem and the indigenous knowledge and indigenous population. When it comes to the structure, you have seen various elements of the forum structure. I'd like to highlight some of those that pertain to our working group. There are several working groups that have constituted to successfully organize the forum. The first is International Steering Committee, holds the decision-making responsibility for the forum organization. The forum content development is centered around each of the 4 priorities, as mentioned earlier by Mr. Salas. The 4 working group, each priority is coordinated by a pilot group. Each pilot has 5 to 6 actions, and we have several of those that I'll mention, and action groups are constituted around each of these actions. The consultative group, which is at the beginning of that process, is also a broader community of practice that supports these activities. This is a list. I'm not going to read those. I'll keep this in the slide for you to read. This is the list of the pilot group composition in terms of the agencies that have been working on this second theme. They're a broad spectrum of the research institutions, development institutions, and as well as national and international organizations, public and private sectors. We have action groups. There are a total of 6 action groups. I'll maybe read all those titles. The first is the ensure universal access to water, ensure universal access to sanitation and hygiene, provide public water sanitation and hygiene facilities, and ensure sustainable agricultural practices, including water productivity and efficiency, reduction and disuse of pollution, and then engage and empower rural communities to be able to deliver socioeconomic change and to harmonize the rural-urban divide. I'd like to close with key messages. Those are overarching across all of the projects that we have been working on as an overarching themes. Unlock the potential of water innovation to achieve sustainable development. Improve productivity and income through more efficient resource use. This is very important when it comes to the use of water, the energy, the food, the health as a system-based approach. Water as a catalyst to increase resilience, improve livelihood, and reduce socioeconomic challenge. This has been always a challenge. How do you make water as a centerpiece for economic development? And this is the theme that we have focused on. Acknowledge importance of alternative water, including green water. This is very important when it comes to the recycling, reuse, and the circular economy in agriculture and water as a primary resource. And here I would highlight green water that constitute over 2/3 of the food security and food trade across the world. Reduce resource interdependency so that if you've got a shortage in one, as I've seen earlier in water, scarcity does not constitute a scarcity in other resources such as food and energy. We have also been working very closely with FAO on One Water, One Health, which really highlights the interconnections of people, animal, plants, and environment. The 7 key message is recognize the importance of small-scale irrigation and provide opportunities for future investment. This is important for the continent and for small shareholders in the farm, that this is the distributed model that needs to be upheld and supported. Develop a foreign investment framework that maintains balance between market interest, development, environment, and society and social need. This is also important as the continent is actually Africa is receiving, yes, Thomas, is receiving a lot of potential investment in this area. And then last but not least, engage, empower the targeted beneficiary rural communities early on in the process. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Very interesting, and congratulations on progress achieved. So I think we now hand over to your colleague Julienne Roux to detail a little bit more about Action Group 2F. You have the floor. Also 6 to 7 minutes, please. Julienne, merci.
Thank you, Thomas.
I'll flag you 1 minute ahead, all right?
Okay, so I understand I'm supposed to share my screen. Okay, I will do this. So first, a few messages about CWW and the World Water Forum, the organization I represent. As many of you probably know, the Global Water Partnership is a multi-stakeholder platform and an action network who supports a more equitable and sustainable management of water resources. First, the World Water Forum is, I must emphasize, a very important space and platform where water actors collaborate and make long-term progress on water challenges. It is also very momentous that the 9th Forum is organized in Sub-Saharan Africa for the first time. Our involvement in the forum spans across the global, continental, regional, and country levels. We are involved in several of the groups that have been set up. We are closely also working with many key actors to facilitate their involvement. Now, as observer to the Action Group on Migration, I will share with you information today on the work of this Action Group, starting with quick background perspectives on the water, migration, and rural development linkages, which in short are important but also complex and under-addressed. First of all, migration is an important phenomenon. It's a hot topic. We can't deny it. It's also very complex and nuanced. Migration is not new. It's a universal phenomenon. It has clear adaptation benefits. It is much broader than migration flows from just developing to developed countries that often occupy international attention. Actually, most of the migration flows are internal or south-south. Yes, sorry, there's background noise. I'll continue. Also, migration has complex motivations. It combines socioeconomic, political, environmental factors. It's not one factor that creates the decision to migrate. It also has complex impacts. They can be both positive, both negative, in communities of origins and in places of migration. So overall, I also like to mention that the water, migration, rural development linkages are multiform and context dependent. I've put just a few on the slide. Water can be one of the factors that contribute to the decision to migrate as a push factor, as a pull factor. Water in rural areas is very key to the employment of many labor migrants. We have big issues concerning water for migrants, especially their access to wash services, potentially also impacts of migrants on water resources. The mobilization of diaspora, finally, can be key to the resilience and the development of communities of origin. But overall, really, all of these interlinkages are insufficiently known and insufficiently taken into account in policies and interventions in rural areas today. So if we go to the next slide, I will speak about the Action Group. As you can see, the Action Group is coordinated by Ms. Enawi Benani from the International Organization for Migration in the Dakar office. And we have different members from both Senegal and international organizations. How the group has proceeded is it held 2 meetings and had a number of email exchanges. And as was presented before with the other action groups, the focus of this action group was first to agree on a key conceptual framing. What are the key priorities, key things that the action group wants to touch upon, to highlight, and to get to through the forum process. So I will speak here about the 3 main actions that were identified and share examples of initiatives that have already been identified to contribute to the achievement of this action. First of all, action 1 is about towards more policy coherence regarding the migration water nexus in the context of rural development. Here, the objective is to maximize inclusion, contribution of youth, migrants, and women into rural development, and also mitigating water-related root causes of migration. The idea is to elaborate policy recommendations to better take into account the migration water nexus in the context of rural development. An important initiative here will be facilitated by IOM in the form of policy dialogues, identification of existing key policy processes addressing this nexus, and elaboration of an outlook, perspective paper in a way, on the migration water nexus in the context of rural development. And we really want to take this conversation forward at the forum itself as well. Now, if we go to the next slide, the 2 other actions relate to action 2, knowledge exchanges on migration water nexus in the context of rural development. Here I mentioned earlier, all of these interlinkages and this nexus are insufficiently known, so a lot of focus needs to be put on more knowledge sharing. So the idea is to enhance knowledge sharing, enhance bottom-up approaches, exploring concrete examples as to how migration can be deployed as an adaptation strategy to water scarcity and climate change, involving wide set of actors. And here we'll share two examples of initiatives. One is one I'm very involved in, which is a working group, a global working group from the Global Framework of Water Scarcity, which is a working group on water and migration, which is already very focused on this knowledge sharing piece. And IOM will also organize webinars, probably in December, around a common understanding on the water migration nexus in the context of rural development. Last but not least, Action 3 is towards action, with a very strong focus here on identification and promotion of nature-based solutions for youth, migrants, and women for water and migration. One of the initiatives that has been identified here is led by Caritas in Senegal. It is about facilitating access to water for sustainable food and nutrition security, with a large focus on involvement of diaspora. Now, what will happen is the consultative process, as has been mentioned by other speakers, and we really hope that through these consultations, we can identify more initiatives that will contribute to the goals outlined here. So we very much welcome all participants to contact me or contact the World Water Council if they would like to be involved in the consultation process. Thank you.
Okay, that was just right in time. Thank you very much. My video is not working. Okay, there we go again. Merci, Julienne. Thank you very much. It's my privilege now to introduce the third priority, which is the cooperation priority. And we have among us, if I'm not mistaken, we have the chair of the pilot group, Ms. Jeonjin Kim. And we also have Mr. Eric Tardieu from INBO as an observer of Action Group 3E. So the same goes for you. You have 15 minutes. I will flag after 7 minutes so you can switch to the next speaker. Merci beaucoup. Thank you very much. You have the floor. Georgine, we cannot hear you. Unmute yourself, please.
Okay, good. Thank you very much for the opportunity to speak about our priority cooperation and giving you the actual overview. So good afternoon, everyone. My name is Lin Jing. I'm the co-chair of the pilot group of the priority cooperation organized water forum. And for my presentation, I would like to briefly touch on how we have made our progress of the priority cooperation action list and give you the list of the action of it. Okay. So before we go into the detailed action list, I would like to touch upon a revisit our background of the priority cooperation. The proposal of the priority cooperation team of the World Water Forum was to seek a better understanding and measure the impact of interaction between different actors, even with the different interests or with common objectives. In addition to conflict prevention, the team includes the promotion of positive cooperation. And it is indeed also important in priority cooperation to consider the significance of the intersectoral and also interactive impact of the essential factors in promoting cooperation. So in addition, intersectoral cooperation is widely recognized that all actions undertaken combining technical or technological solutions with political decisions as well, which are the best solutions to water-related problems. So there is providing potential for cooperation in platforms to discuss or exchange on both technologies and conflict in one of the most important ways to make implementation more sustainable. So this cooperation between actors is well presented by the actors and carried out by the multi-stakeholders who are the components of the action groups and also the pilot groups as well as the observers. And we have experienced needed to achieve these sustainable development goals by promoting this cooperation with the action needs and all the sub-themes that is provided by the project. Okay, so procedure. As you may already have a clear picture of the procedure of the making this action list of each priority, in order to identify more practical and sustainable actions based upon our efforts of the working groups, with the submission of the actions by the action groups, we have revised these actions by pilot groups, and also we have provided the synthesis of recommendations applied to each action group. And observers provided action group recommendations made by the pilot group. So we're on this stage of between giving the modification of the action list and the presentation process right now. So in the priority cooperation with the framework identified with the 5 items from 3A to 3F, we have collected the 20 actions within 68 topics. So as you can see here, we've identified the 3A implement IWR at all levels. Action 1 is highlighting a cross-sectional governance for the 6 projects. And for the action 2, the building capacity and design the implementation of development plans of IWR was identified with the 6 projects. And building robust financial mechanisms was highlighted by the 5 projects. And action 4, strengthening knowledge for information and decision making has been identified in 6 projects. And for the 3B, we collected 9 projects and 3 for each of the actions. Action 1 is promoting self-annual governance, and 2 action highlighted the building capacity and sustainable institutions. And action 3, promoting knowledge and transfer the collaboration and beneficial action power. 3C, the item was expand international cooperation, including ODA and capacity building for the team, has been identified with the 4 actions with the 5 projects. And action 1 highlighted with the strengthening the capacity building and developing prevention water-related natural disasters, and also the foster decentralized cooperation between subnational authorities and the collaboration of the international level. And the ODA has been also highlighted in the action list. So for the 3 actions, we collected 5 projects. And for 3B, the item with the enhancing cooperation and emergency proposed infrastructure, including hydropower, has been focusing on the emergency proposed dams in case of the action 2. And action 1 has been promoting the dialogue and consultation. Action 2 has been promoting the development of the location to secure investment, thirdly. And action 3 has been highlighted adaptation of management model for multiple concerns. Okay, so for 3E, we collected 6 projects with the 3 actions. You see there. Action 2 has been promoted the community, and 3 has been capacity development. After the last step, the item is the enhanced multi-stakeholder dialogue and partnership, including with our outside sectors. Wash health and environment, and enhanced multi-stakeholder dialogue and partnership with the political dialogue. water energy methods has been also highlighted. The 11 projects with more concrete question-based suggestions. So we've provided the guidelines after we have reviewed all these actions from the participants. And action remains mostly well-defined and developed by the efforts of the action groups for the past few months. It was very hard to develop it virtually in spite of all things were pending due to COVID-19. And however, the pilot groups and the action groups with the observers were having very effective process to develop the action with the project. We have all reviewed the projects suggested by the action groups and gained feedback, focusing on the following items which were somewhat needed to be reflected more in the project. We have suggested to apply real examples to lead the actions, and that was recommended by the project by completion of the project. And also we have suggested rules between each group of the participants, including concentrated work, action, and pilot group as a whole process of the project. And also geographical balance has been also well highlighted to count for the relevant projects. Like we are heading to Dakar, and we know that we could focus when we analyze the situation of the Saharan African continent, but also we are heading to the giving the insights to all. So, and the last one is the well-defined themes that will be more applied to the project. So our action groups are working on that to have a more efficient consultation by the participating group. So this is the last slide. Again, that's our concept of the cooperation priority. Certainly we're focusing on making more concrete and real cases of the action based upon our core value of the cooperation. So we also realize that with our cooperation with other sectors, stakeholders, based on our concrete action. So we truly look forward to happening in the process, and we encourage all participants to be the real catalyst in concrete actions to the major priority cooperation. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. The sound quality wasn't excellent, but thank you for your presentation. Very helpful. I give the floor to Eric maintenant to give a little bit of insights. Go ahead, Eric.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Thomas, and good morning to everyone. Yes, I will go into details of the work of the Action Group 3E, that is part of the cooperation priority. Action Group 3E is about North-South cooperation, South-South cooperation, and so triangular cooperation, and especially on data and information sharing and on capacity building. So this is really about cooperation on very concrete and technical aspects. We've chosen 3 actions. First one is about a better cooperation for better water information sharing. The overall objective is to improve cooperation, not only for better data availability, but also for a smoother data sharing, because we believe there are key necessities for sound implementation of water resources management. We want also to disseminate new approaches, new technologies, to enhance and to generalize data sharing processes. And we will try to enlarge cooperation projects outside water communities in order to include ecosystem, nature, environment, information, and data in the sharing processes. So a few examples in this action 1 are for projects. How to enhance the use of satellite data for water resources monitoring. How can we improve water quality monitoring from space, so in a very specific area around Lake Chad in Africa? How can we enhance transboundary observatory for water and biodiversity, and especially in the Guyana plateau between France, Brazil, and Suriname? And also, how can we disseminate information on practices on water information systems? These are a few examples of the project we have received. Action 2. Action 2 is about bridging research communities up to end users and citizens in order to launch new cooperative or collaborative networks. The objective is to address specific issues of specific territories or water users through enhanced or more cooperative experience sharing tools and approaches. The idea is to disseminate the results of research and innovation projects and to involve research communities and water users, including cities or local authorities. Objective is also to involve all actors, including the public at large, using social networks and new communication tools. It's also about awareness raising through more intense and cooperative information processes. So a few examples of projects that we have received and reviewed. How can we develop scientific evidence to inform policies and practices to sustain low-cost on-site water supplies and sanitation systems, especially in urban Africa? There is an Afri Alliance project. It's a European-African project about boosting and matchmaking research and innovation needs and solutions for preparedness to climate change in Africa. And there is also the idea of the creation of a network for mutual education and data, good practices and experiences exchange between civil society stakeholders in sustainable development and lifestyles. Action 3 now. Action 3 is about promotion of capacity development through enhanced exchanges and training. The overall objectives are to structure capacity development and experience sharing benefits through the dissemination of cooperative peer-to-peer or peer review approaches, to enhance cooperation among educative and academic partners interested in the development of more application-oriented exchanges and teaching tools and practices, and also to raise awareness on the importance of educative and training capacity development. So a few projects have been received again. How to support water cooperation to improve water resources management in 6 countries of Eastern Europe and Caucasus. How could we start a North-South-South network to promote higher education programs in water-related disciplines with a strong focus on application? How can we enhance capacity development for water and sanitation jobs and consolidate water training centers? And also a project about peer-to-peer learning, sharing experiences through peer review exchanges in order to improve the implementation of water policy frameworks. 3 short main messages to finish with. We have tried to keep a good geographical balance, as Yunjin has already explained, but the group would really welcome more projects from the Mediterranean region. So I suppose the audience here is highly representative of this region, so we would welcome the engagement of more stakeholders from this region. Please, you're very welcome to send projects to the group. So second message, we are water practitioners, but we really want to prove that we are also able to build bridges between our communities. And the third message is really that cooperation, we all know that, is not only about technical investments or technologies or innovation, but really about stakeholders' commitment through different communities. And we are trying to reinforce and to implement this message through the work of the group. Thank you for your attention.
Merci beaucoup. Thank you. Eric, there is a little bit of echo. Can you mute yourself, please, Eric? Yeah, thanks. Thank you very much. And thank you also for respecting the time. I just wanted to draw your attention to the right part of your screen where a polling section has been put up by the organizers, which invites you to send an email to forum@worldwatercouncil.org if you want to be a part of one of the consultative groups. I think we'll come back to this question later because some of you have raised questions about how to participate, and I think we'll put those questions to the forum secretariat and to some of the pilot group or the action group leaders. So without further ado, thank you very much. It's now time to introduce the last priority, the fourth priority of the forum, which is the means and tools priority. This is for me going to be very difficult to keep the time because I have 4 speakers in 15 minutes, so we'll give them 20 minutes. I will flag you if I fear that we're overrunning, but it's my pleasure to introduce from CAF, Mr. Julian Suarez, from the Water Integrity Network, Ms. Barbara Schreiner, from UNESCO, Mr. Alexander Otte, and then also from the French Geographical Survey, Ms. Dominique Damandrai. Julian, tienes la parola. Thank you very much.
Fantastic. Well, thank you very much. I think that I thought that it was second, but no problem. I can manage that. Just let me share my screen, please. Sure.
There we go. Thank you.
Fantastic. Well, thank you very much. First of all, good afternoon, everyone. Good morning on this side of the world. My pleasure to be part of this session within the Cairo Water Week, convened by the WWC and facilitated by Aquafed. A special salute to Pablo Sanchez, Thomas, and Teresa for all the support. Now, moving forward in regards to my presentation, say that means and tools, as you're well aware, is one of the 4 priority areas of the 9th World Water Forum. Means and tools has 5 action groups. This action group 4.A is referred to mobilizing additional financial resources and promoting innovative funding. The action group is led by the African Development Bank and co-chaired by CAF, and it has representatives from civil organizations, research institutes, governments, and other finance institutions, like the French Development Agency, the World Bank, Water.org, the Ministry of Finance of Senegal, the Institute for Japan's Globalization, Waterpreneurs, and SOMGAP. So the action group, for all of us, it is very clear that we're not on track to achieve SDGs, particularly SDG 6. We need to transform, we need to scale, we need to do better with current policies and financial efforts, specifically in regards to water resource management issues, as well as for water supply and sanitation services. So in this context, that of course is exacerbated by the effects of the pandemic, this action group becomes truly important to look after responses to developing innovative and emerging financial mechanisms that help us reduce the difficulties in risk management to support the emergence of bankable projects. The criteria we have used to define the 3 action areas basically relate to the alignment of the actions with the SDG framework, to review the coherence of potential overlaps and duplication of projects, to review the stakeholders' representativeness and diversity of the involved actors, review regional representativeness as well, and to review the replicability of projects. We've been working on this very strongly, and we've come out with a synthesis of 3 action areas from which the sessions become. Action 1 relates to fostering innovative and emerging financing mechanisms and implementation modalities. The purpose of this action area and sessions is to promote the discussion around innovative financing. We're talking about blended finance. We're talking about land value capture tools, among others, and also to learn on emerging financing. That includes liquidity facilities as well as other sources of funds to alleviate the pandemic effects. Action 2 refers to financing water governance and capacity development. In this area, we aim to trigger a discussion on financing to promote capacity building and sectorial and strategic planning to enable conditions to foster sustainability. We recognize that water financing goes well beyond investment in water investment, and in order to achieve SDG 6, we need to dedicate efforts on financing capacity building initiatives. Action 3 basically relates to meeting the challenge of financing sanitation and circular economy, thinking on new tools and approaches. We recognize that sanitation lags far behind as compared to other water services, and this area focuses on ways to better finance sanitation programs, but also on exploiting opportunities to harness circular economy. That is, we build on the idea of not only addressing the gaps to increase sanitation coverage significantly, but also on the opportunity to embrace the idea of using different qualities of water for different uses, what is particularly attractive for arid zones. In regards to the work in progress, say that these action areas are intended to define between 4 to 6 sessions that will be developed during the forthcoming forum. And so far, we have received 15 session proposals, 6 for the first action, 7 for the second, 2 for the third action. We're in the process of receiving more initiatives and within a consultative process. To illustrate the type of sessions we have received ideas on blended finance to accelerate water-related investments. We have received ideas on the role of public development banks as well and on the role of domestic development banks in boosting water financing to achieve SDG 6. Also on financing and investments in nature-based solutions to address water security, and also on strategic investment pathways toward sustainable infrastructure. In regards to the way forward, say that in addition, it is under review the potential exchange with other action groups due to the unavoidable interlinkages and interconnections between ones and others, and also to provide a more comprehensive approach and achieve consensus among the different sessions in regards to fostering innovative financing to achieve SDG 6. I will stop here. Thank you for the opportunity to share the work we're doing so far. Of course, open to answering any questions.
Thank you, Julian. Can I also ask on behalf of a number of participants that we share the presentations with the organizers so that they can be uploaded to the Cairo Water Week website in a way, but also shared with the participants to the session, if that's not a problem for you. I would be very much interested to having all your presentations. Thank you very much. I will now hand over the floor to Barbara. Let's go.
Thank you very much, Thomas. I seem to be having, I'm just trying to share my screen here, and hopefully that will come through now. Thank you very much for this opportunity to present on behalf of the Action Group D, develop effective and accountable transparent institutions at all levels and promote integrity. Let me say thank you to the organizers for allowing this, and let me greet the participants before I move on. Good afternoon, bonjour, salam alaikum, and I will try and be brief, Thomas, because I know that you are desperate for time at this point. Essentially, we are looking at, in this group, at issues of accountability, transparency, and integrity, where integrity is the use of vested powers and resources honestly and professionally in the provision of sustainable and equitable water and sanitation services for all. And just to say from the Water Integrity Network that we're very clear that the issue of integrity goes beyond simply addressing corruption, which is something that is a critical issue to address in the water and sanitation sector. It also means that we need to adhere to the governance principles of transparency, of accountability and participation in order to make sure that we can actually achieve SDG 6, particularly making sure that we go the extra mile and address the needs of the poor and the most marginalized. So in our process, and we have a team that consists of people from the West African region, but also global organizations. We have essentially developed three actions that we are taking forward. The one is focused on parliamentarians and the relationship with civil society in improving accountability for water and sanitation provision. The other is focused on mobilizing the youth. And the third one is focused on bringing local government more strongly into the issue of accountability, integrity, and effective organizations. So the first one is looking at whether we can develop a guidebook with a set of practical tools for parliamentarians in terms of how they engage with civil society around the overseeing progress on SDG 6 targets to develop improved accountability and transparency and therefore greater integrity and better delivery of the targets. It builds on the 8th World Water Forum Parliamentarian Manifesto, which recognizes the role of parliaments and the right to water, and it recognizes the important role that parliamentarians should play in accountability for water management and delivery, and of course sanitation as well. Let's not forget the sanitation. It will also link to Action Group 4C's manifesto on national integrated water laws, water resources governance, which advocates for the role of integrated water laws and improved cross-sectoral coherence and responsiveness to water's unique life-giving properties as a foundational pillar of water resources governance. And we see the forum, the World Water Forum, as providing a platform where we can initiate discussions and contextualize the scope of principles, tools, and practical guidelines for the guidebook to maximize benefit both to CSOs and to the legislature. And this is a new action that is being proposed. Okay. The second action is around mobilizing the next generation of young leaders. Clean water, clean hands, save lives, and it's led by the Citizen Alliance. And it's trying to raise the quality and capacity of young leaders, making the direct connection between clean water and hand washing that is so vital in a pandemic situation like we have, and applying the best practices of water education, civic engagement, social entrepreneurship, leadership development with carefully targeted audiences. And this is building on work that the Citizen Alliance is doing, but taking it forward. Three main objectives are identifying and cultivating the next generation of young leaders who take full responsibility for strengthening institutions through integrity, transparency, and accountability, applying best practices from around the world, using heightened awareness of water issues during a pandemic to connect better water quality and improved hygiene to institutional effectiveness, leadership competence, and the specific institutional foundations of integrity, transparency, and accountability, taking advantage of the heightened levels of multi-stakeholder collaboration and generational solidarity required for a pandemic to engage next-generation leaders with existing institutional leaders for systemic change. And then the third one is around operationalizing platforms for the local governments for the implementation of Goal 6 with a specific focus on inclusive sanitation. And this is being led by AFWA, the African Water Association. And it's building on the Forum of Mayors organized by the EAA, and trying to ensure that we can get local governors, deputies, regional councillors, governors, counties, local, all of the key players in local government to get involved around issues of transparency, accountability, and integrity in relation to community-wide integrated sanitation. And so it's aiming to ensure that we can sensitize local government players around the issues of sanitation, community-wide integrated sanitation, transparency, accountability, integrity, training a whole bunch of local government officials, and then setting up partnerships between different local governments from various continents with benchmarking missions as well as part of that. We have developed these actions, we are now going into consultations. As was mentioned, the consultative groups have been set up, but if other players would like to come in that consultative process, please let us know. I've put up 2 emails here, but you can also go through the Secretariat to get hold of us. We would very much like to broaden the platform of consultation and bring in other players who might be interested in these topics. Just to say that the issue of integrity, transparency and accountability is fundamental to us being able to achieve any of SDG 6 and to deliver on the water and sanitation needs of the poorest. And on that, I will end. Thomas, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Barbara. That was, I'm a proud member of the WIN, and my organization has been one of the founding members, so it's good to see that you're on board. So thank you very much. So moving on, we'll go, I believe, to Alexander. You have the floor, and we still have some time. But before you have the floor, sorry to interrupt, I'm going to tell Mrs. Kim that she will have 5 minutes after we conclude this topic before we move into the Q&A if she fixes the sound. So just to give her time to elaborate on the last slides that were a little bit difficult to understand. But now we will continue on this priority. So Alexander, please go ahead. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Thomas, and thanks to the organizers of the forum for this invitation. I hope you can hear me well.
Yes, perfect. Thank you.
Okay, great. Hello to everyone. Well, it seems that I cannot share my screen for whatever reason. I might not have been accorded the panelist rights. Is that a possibility?
I will check with the organizers. They will check.
Okay, but anyway, I will start just by saying that I'm going to co-present, time permitting, with Dominique Damondrel from the BRGM, as you have been mentioning before. Actually, we are talking about the Action Group 4E and the efforts towards increasing water efficiency and sustainable management through science, technology, innovation, and education. It seems that the screen will not come up, but we have in our group. Okay. Just a moment, I heard. Okay. We have in our group the CEO Water Mandate, Delvic Sanitation Initiative, Water Footprint Network, Water Europe. I'm speaking, of course, on behalf of the Intergovernmental Program, Intergovernmental Hydrological Program of UNESCO, the Ministry of Environment of Korea, and I'm not going to list now everyone, but there's a list of about 12 contributors to this important theme. And we have been putting into the synthesis note that is also going out for consultation very soon now, a number of points that we wish to. Okay, I'm sharing my screen now. Are you able to see it now?
Yes, we have your screen.
Thank you. Excellent. So we have been highlighting a few points that we think would benefit from a strengthened profile in the forthcoming forum compared to previous ones, such as the joint efforts for financing development of new knowledge and innovation solutions, and creating a sustainable financing mechanism as possible, support for open science and data as driver of innovative solutions. I think it's something that has also been coming up during this current pandemic situation, where the open exchange of data has proven to be key for scientific progress. Obviously, the recognition of the need for the approaches that consider interlinkages between innovation and policies, so as to provide what we will call a research innovation policy interface, again, to establish a more sustainable way to bring together stakeholders from different paths towards the effective, first of all, the development, but also the effective implementation of solutions. to improve the conditions for positive dynamics of increased technical and economic efficiency. We talk about positive dynamics in contrast perhaps to unsustainable practices that can come up through scaling effects, for instance, with undesired social and environmental impacts. And we highlight that concrete scientific inter- and transdisciplinary approaches are required that also include the social and human sciences and that combine innovation and education. So that we really reach out in our efforts across the disciplinary divides. Finally, one of the points that we noted is that we ideally reach joint expression of the views and recommendations of the stakeholders in this meeting, so that there are not too many separate recommendations coming up. I would pass on for the actions 2 and 3 to Dominique. I'm just going to quickly talk about the action 4.1, which would be financing innovation, novel means and tools, technical and non-technical solutions to leverage knowledge, education, science, and innovation that we consider are required for solving border challenges. Indeed, I mean, there is a strong need to engage with research and innovation funders, which we hope to do through a variety of contributions that we have also been receiving as proposals. Basically, the objective is to create critical financing mass for investing in innovative approaches and solutions, and to overcome some of the known key barriers, like the fragmentation of actions and landscape, a discontinuity between science and innovation programs, what I've been mentioning before, the research, science, innovation nexus, basically, and to counter the low level of the uptake that can take place when innovations are actually only present or known in a small environment, but are not necessarily being taken on board by broader multipliers, be it in national policies or in the market framework. Basically, we aim at generating new knowledge and innovation through a consistent and sustainable financing mechanism, and some of those actions, if time permits, we could point out a bit later. I'm passing on to Dominique.
Thank you, Alexander.
Dominique, we cannot hear you very well.
Now?
Yes.
Yes.
Better, yeah.
Okay, thank you. So I cannot see any more of the slides, Alexander.
You're dropping again, Dominique, please.
So we're dropping again.
Can you speak again?
I was saying that I cannot see any more of the slides that you
Dominique, perhaps should I take over if... Yeah.
Yes, Alexander, thank you. And you have a couple of minutes left because it's difficult to hear. Sorry, apologies.
Oh, okay. Sorry, Dominique. Well, I hope I'll conclude in your sense. So we have 2 more action groups, which would be not action groups, but groups of proposed actions, which will be fitting under the second topic, which is establishing a permanent and efficient science innovation policy education dialogue, which for us is a very strong tool to make sure that we have a true and permanent loop of a way of, again, creating a more sustainable relationship between scientific innovation, policy, and the continuation at all levels of education, so that societies are able to implement actually innovations also on the long run, which can only happen if they are in one way or another transferred into the educational systems. That consists in identifying key gaps for achieving policies and their implementation at all relevant scales, including, of course, in RDI and in the political agenda. The recognition and active work on education and on behavioral changes that are required for the implementation of innovations. And the strong focus in this case on those countries and regions that require those efforts most, with particular focus on Africa, which is also one of the global priorities of UNESCO, and on the global south more in general, where we have heard now from several of our colleagues how much actually the implementation of SDG 6 in particular is lagging behind. Basically, this concentrates on the interface and on the transfer or exchange of knowledge and innovation between the different sectors. The last point would be the coordination of water innovation platforms. We have one key example, which would be the World Water Challenge, that showcases actions to address the most challenging issues, but we have also other examples that could actually feed in, and where we would like to design links between the different platforms that are currently operating more or less in parallel, but have a lot either in common or at least a huge potential for complementarities. Overall, it should allow that we can answer through those platforms to demands for science and knowledge-based solutions, and that in particular also the forum participants have the opportunity not only to share their innovations during the forum, but also on the longer run. So thank you. Yeah, that should be basically it for the moment. And thank you.
Thanks, Alexander. We are coming close to the end of the session here. We had some time foreseen for Q&A. We have a number of questions that have been assigned to the panelists, and I hear from the organizers that we're running out of time, but that those questions will be answered by email to all the panelists. It was a pleasure hosting you. I'm very, very happy to have learned so much alongside this audience. We total about 100 people in continuous attendance right now, which is, in my view, quite a success for the Water Week in Cairo. And I regret not being able to be there physically because it's such a wonderful city. And as concluding remarks, I would hand over to Paulo Sales. Paulo, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Thomas. So I think we had a very nice session. We've got the bird's eye on what's happening in the 9th Forum, and we could see that the preparation is going very well, progressing a lot, and the structure is very well integrated. First, we could see the priority one, water and sanitation for all, which is one of the most important things, along with the water security. So this is very important. We could see Farah talking about water and sanitation, and talk by Alice mentioning nature-based solutions for water quality and this type of thing, which is very important as well, considering the development goals. And then we have this second priority with Habi. Habi explained what's going on and in this forum in general. He mentioned many other things beside this rural development issues. And then came Julianne talking about one of the most important programs we have in the current times, which is migration. And then came the third priority with Yongjin and Eric, and we had an overview what cooperation, which is the basis for the future, and in a way we are extending the theme from the 8th forum, which was sharing water. Cooperation for sharing water is one of the most important things. And Eric mentioned governance as well, was one of the most important things, IWRM, and many kinds of cooperative associations, North-South, South-South, and it was very important to see. And among the actions, we could see a number of examples of actions, which are very inspiring as well. Eric mentioned nature-based solutions, ecosystems, things that were mentioned by other people as well, the use of science and technology, satellites, and this sort of thing, and the capacity development, which is something essential for us. And finally, we had priority 4, means and tools, and a good overview of the efforts that are being done towards mobilizing additional resources for water and for sanitation and for implementation of all these things we are discussing. And Barbara mentioned accountability is something that is very important for the whole world, and we expect that it improves a lot, and it will be very important for us as well. And one of the most important things that was mentioned here, which is very important for the moment we are facing, clean water, clean hands, and save lives. I think this is a very good combination of water and cares. We have to save our lives. And the operational and coordination of local governments towards SDG 6. Alexander pushed the innovative solutions and new knowledge, science, representing science and technology. I think we could show the audience that we are doing really many things, integrated things, and bringing updated knowledge and issues for this discussion. I would like to thank Thomas. You were a very good facilitator. The staff of the World Water Council that prepared this organization, this session, and the other organizers, Mona, for instance. And finally, I would really like to say a big thank to Arab Republic of Egypt, thanks to these beautiful people of this country, the warm and sympathetic people of Cairo, and the organizers of this Cairo Water Week that opened this space for us. We wish success, security, and progress for all, and I would like to thank everybody again and say, stay safe, stay healthy.
Thank you,
Thomas.
I think we're waiting for the Secretariat to cut off the section, but all my warmest regards to everybody. It's good to see you.
Likewise.
Thanks very much, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you so much.
Thank you indeed. Bye-bye.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much, everyone. Take care.
Merci beaucoup. Merci à tous. Merci, Lucien. Good to see you again.
Au revoir,
Yonji, bye.